Hi and welcome. My name is Joshua from TAG, and in this video we would learn how to interact with the base R. In the previous video we established difference between the base R and the R Studio, which is an IDE of the base R. In this slide I try to remind people how they can download the base R by visiting cran.r-project.org. And a typical example of the platform looks like this, where we have the menu option containing file, edit, packages, windows, help, and we have the R editor and we have the R console. So let's go through some basic terminologies we would need to understand as an R user. The first is the console. So there are two main methods of working with R. First, you either choose to work on the console or you choose to work with scripts. These are plain text files that contains your code. So what exactly is the console? The console window is the place where R is waiting for you to tell it what to do and where it will show the results of a command. That is, you type your code on the R console and then it produces the result. These are the two things we do with the R console. You can type commands directly into the console, but they will be forgotten when you close this section. So this is one of the limitations of typing our code on the console, and that leads us to talk about the R editor. So but before we talk much about the R editor, I said it is important we know that both the R console and R editor can also be called a pane. That is, we can say the console pane or the editor pane. The R editor is where you can also write your code in the form of a text file. We have seen that in the previous slide on how to interact with our methods in which you can interact with R. So these text files are called R scripts. So the R script can be saved with a .r extension for further usage, and they are easily shareable. So we would look at some practical sections to clearly understand the theoretical part we've done, and then we would call it a day. So this is our base R platform. When you open it, by default you have the R console filled with all these default statements. So the first thing we learn is how to clear the default statements, and you do that by pressing Ctrl L. So when I press Ctrl and I press L with it, it clears the console. So let's talk about the menu options, the file where you can run your source code, the new script. We talked about scripts when dealing with R editor. So when you write your code and you save it, it becomes a script. So if you're interested in creating a new script, you press new script and you have it in this way. So let me close this and still say more about what we have with the R console. So you can create a new script, open script, display file. You can load the workspace pertaining to the console. You can save workspace. You can load history, save history. You can change your directory. We'll talk about this in subsequent videos, what directory is all about and how to set your working directory. You can print and you can save to file. We have the edit where you can copy, paste, and perform some operations on your code. We have the view, the misc, where you can stop some current computation. We will see this by pressing the escape key. That is when we have situations where our code is incomplete and it keeps bringing out error for us. So we have packages. You can load a package. We can set CRAN mirror. We can set repositories. All these we will talk extensively about in subsequent videos, what exactly is package and how you can load a package. So we have windows, we have cascade, tile horizontally, and we have help. Over here you can get a lot of help as regard functions, codes, and things you have no knowledge about. So let's open a new script. So when you open a new script, you have it here, an R editor untitled. So what we established initially is that you can write your code on the console. For instance, I'm saying 2 plus 3, and here you just need to press enter. We have the result as 5. I can say 2 minus 3, then I press enter. I have the result as minus 1. So the limitation with writing your code on the console is that when you close this section, you lose everything you have written on the console. So but when you write your code on the arrow editor, let's say 2 plus 3, and I have it this way, in this place you won't just press enter, you press Ctrl R to run your line of code, Ctrl R, and the result is transferred to the console. That is where the console is always where we have the result of our codes. So I can also do the same thing I've done, 2 minus 3, and then I press Ctrl R, then I have the result. So when you look at this particular platform, you see some empty spaces around here. So let's go to Windows and learn something on tiling. So we have 2 types of tiling, the horizontal tiling and vertical tiling. So this is what a typical horizontal tiling means. You have your editor on top and you have your arrow console underneath. Myself, I love using the vertical tiling, where we would have the arrow editor on the left hand side and we have the console on the right hand side. So I won't have to be nodding my head as an Agama lizard if I had set it to the horizontal tiling. So having done this, I want to show us how we can also plot a graph in this very brief introduction to interacting with Bezier. So I'm going to create a variable and call it addS. We will still learn in subsequent videos extensively how to create variables in R. So I'm going to create a variable that follows normal distributions with 1000 observation, mean, 0 mean, and the standard deviation of 1. So I run this by pressing Ctrl plus R. So Ctrl plus R, I have it in this way. So if you want to see the data set we have in the variable ads, you can use the print function and you put the variable name ads as the only argument in that particular print function. So you press Ctrl R and you see these variables that were generated randomly following the normal distribution. So let's take, for instance, I want to have like a plot. It could be a scattered plot, it could be an histogram. So for the scattered plot, I will just have to use the plot function and then put the variable name as the argument. So when I run this Ctrl R, you would have a new pane that will pop out called the arrow graphics, and then it is currently active. So you have it here, scattered plot showing the distributions, the positions of all the observations in the variable ads visually for us to see, and you could see them revolving around the mean 0. So let's take, for instance, you minimize this and you can't find that particular plot again. You need not to fear. All you need to do is go back to Windows and you see it here as the third pane added to the arrow environment. So you can click on it again to bring it back active. So if you are no longer interested in it, you can just close it. To save this, we have several ways to save this, which we will learn in subsequent videos, and I would encourage you to keep following this channel for powerful videos on arrow programming. So you can right click and you see copy as meta file, copy as bitmap, save as meta file, save as PostScript, print. So you can copy as meta file and you go save it, you go paste it on your Word document. So this is one easy thing you can do on this particular environment. So let's take, for instance, I also want to see how the histogram will look like. Then I can press haste and include ads as the only argument. So when I do this Ctrl R, you could see the histogram. This histogram tells us that this is highly normal. You could see it tells us that this is an example of a normal distribution. This is the way it's going to look like, though not perfectly as what we would expect, but this is telling us that this is quite close, very close to being normal. So in this way, we have learned what an arrow console is all about. We have learned what an arrow editor is all about, the limitation to the arrow console. When you write your code on it and you close the session, you lose it. But with the arrow editor, when you write your code, you can save it as script. For instance, we are done with this particular tutorial and we wish to save this. You can go to File and you click Save, or you press Ctrl S. When you save it, it becomes, this is it, what we mean by the .arrow extension, and you can give it any name. For instance, let's give it X, SOS, save as so, for instance, and we are saving it in the documents folder. So when I click save, take for instance, I just choose to close everything I have here, and we are back to our practical section. Let's say I want to open R again on my system, and then I just scroll down. Okay, this is R, and so I can say open script and directly go to document and look for the SOS that we have saved. So X, SOS, okay, this is SOS, and then we can open it. So this is the advantage of us writing our code on the R script. I want to believe we've learned something new in today's video, and on that note, I want to say a big thank you. Please, if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, please kindly do that, and you can also share with your colleagues in the university, graduate students and undergraduate students seeking scholarships who would want to improve their analytical skills. Thank you very much. God bless you. See you in the next video. Bye.